Hi, I'm Erin Marcus, former corporate executive turned entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business. Welcome to the Ready Yet podcast. We're excited to bring you more than 100 episodes of interviews and insights designed to help entrepreneurs get the financial and emotional freedom they need in order to build a business and a life they're proud of. All right. Welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast, where my guest, Adrienne Johnston and I have been talking about consistency and aligning the things you're doing to grow your business with the stage of business you're at so that you can actually get to where you want to get instead of being frustrated, out of money, annoyed, pissed off, and all the other adjectives, right, that produces. So before we get into that conversation, why don't you tell everybody a little officially about who you are and what you do?
Yes, my name is Adrienne Johnston. I am a niche graphic designer. I specialize in presentation design. I am based just outside of Seattle, Washington with my family. I have scaled my business to $45,000 months. I have a team member of one other team member, and I've also added in a course component that's in addition to that revenue, and that makes $8,000 to $10,000 a month.
Nice.
And I laugh. Erin and I laugh. I am really on this kind of pendulum where I would say every 6 months or so, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be really intentional and focused. And then I get caught up, right, in chasing the revenue and in client needs and demands. And then suddenly I'm tired and I'm burnout, and that affects my personal life and everything else. And I'm suddenly going, okay, pause, hit the brakes.
Stop.
Who are the clients that aren't the right fit anymore? Where the projects aren't making sense anymore. And what's the revenue number I really need to hit? And so I've really in the last few weeks just kind of in that pause said, okay, like what's the revenue number I actually want to hit, right? Because I feel like I just kind of kept thinking there, it had to be some big number, or I would hit a big number and then think, well, that's the new baseline. Like I got to hit that every month. It doesn't need to be that high.
Right. Oh my God. Like you've said 85 things that I love. So number one, congratulations. Way to go you on using what I would consider scale in the way that by the definition of the word. Like, I think there's so many people marketing tactics that scale your business that's not really what they do. Like scale is multiplication of whatever it is you're doing. Like you have growth, then you have leverage where we're getting two results for the one thing we're doing. And then we have scale, which is a multiplication of effort. So number one, like seriously great on that. And also I love that it's you and one other person. This doesn't have to be this complex machine.
Yeah.
Which is probably also why you were able to get there, because it wasn't, I was just sharing with you. I'm like, things got way too hard, like way too complex for me. Let's stop this. And also this realization, like, what do I actually want?
Yeah.
What do I want? Not what am I supposed to want? What is and because there's a big difference between achieving amazing things because you're excited and driven to achieve amazing things, and achieving amazing things because of some negative external pressure that tells you you're supposed to and have to.
Right. 100%. Yeah. And I hit this new high number at the end of last year, and I just thought anything less than that is now a failure. What? Who said? Why?
Maybe I don't want to do it this way anymore. Right.
Right. And so I realized I started the beginning of the year with this kind of like new benchmark for the revenue number that I had to hit. And the things that I was doing to do that meant I was working weekends and nights, and for a number that I don't need to hit in order to reach my financial and retirement goals and lifestyle goals. And okay, and let's say that I do all that and I'm spinning my wheels and I'm making all this money. I don't have any time to spend it.
You're right. Where are you going to go?
What am I doing?
No, you can't. Well, and that's one of the places where one of the things that I teach, and this is a great opportunity to dive into it a little bit, because one of the things that I teach all the time and show people is that your business is a system.
Yeah.
So all these moving parts. So what you figured out, you've got marketing dialed in, you've got sales dialed in, you've got product offerings dialed in, right? You're making the revenue numbers. But is there something on the system side or the team member side that has now become the anchor in the business. It's holding the business back. The reason you're still moving forward is because you're making up for it.
Interesting.
You're making up for it, right? And this is what happens when one part of our business scales, but it's not a sustainable business model. So I
Right.
would challenge you right here in public to, what if there's a way to maintain the revenue without the allocation of your personal time and effort, and that
Yeah.
allocation of assets. And I think this is where a lot of people get stuck, because how do you keep top line revenue, and if not top line revenue, profit margin,
Yep.
while doing what you need to do to change the business model just enough to not put you in an early grave?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I definitely think that there are some limiting things, right? My new teammate, she's less than a year in. So, I mean, she'll continue
Mm-hmm.
to grow into that role and be able to do more and more. But yeah, at this point, right, I am making up that difference. She's not a
Yeah.
full second me, and that will take probably years to get to, right? Uh, I have to imagine it will. I didn't get here
Doesn't have
overnight.
to. Doesn't have to. Doesn't.
Yeah,
It'll
you're
take.
right,
It'll
though.
take.
That's a very good point, right?
It'll
She's
take as
already,
long as you decide it'll take.
well, that's a good point, is that I had to learn slowly, or I had to figure things out, but now we know.
That's because
So
you
it should be
right now
fast.
exactly. Oh my God, right?
That's a
Like,
great
so
point.
for people, that's such a good point, because for people who are hit a bump for whatever reason, whether it's a self-induced step back, I don't want to work that way anymore, or whether it's a bump in that I did this marketing effort and it didn't work, like whatever the reason, humans really think in this all or nothing situation, right? So you're not starting at square one.
Right.
You're starting with the brilliance of years of experience and achievements.
You're 100% correct. And having made all the mistakes and figured it out. So
You
yeah.
don't have to make those. You can make new ones, but you don't have to do those again. You've already got that.
Yeah.
You've
And so
already got
effectively you're
that.
teaching someone.
Like, you've already got one of the magical pieces figured out, niche.
Yeah.
I mean, how long did that take? Right? That's always
Yeah.
right. You've got like one of the key dominoes has already fallen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would say, the next piece is clients, right? There are the diamond clients, and then there are, the gold, and then there's the copper. I don't know. I need to come up with some kind of tiering system,
And
right?
there's
But
the
there's definitely some
PVC,
tiering.
the PVC.
The PVC clients, right? And that's part of where I've been like focused too right now, which is, what are the ones that take up a lot of time but don't add to the revenue, right? Like, cut it. Like, they don't. I know plenty of people who would just love to have that
Love to
business.
have them, right? We don't have to, right? It doesn't make them bad humans. It just
Nope.
makes them bad fit for what you're doing right now.
What I'm doing right now, but they were an amazing fit for me 3 to 5 years ago, right?
Oh, right. And so you iterate, right? You
Yeah.
iterate is how you move forward. And this is also why it's so important to do, how you've said you've done this like every 6 months. And yeah, it's like you feeling that the pendulum is swinging and you have to do this, but truthfully, give yourself more credit. You know to do this.
Yeah.
You know to do this. You can say it's out of reaction mode, and maybe it is, but I will tell you, most people will feel that and then not do anything about it. Most people won't actually listen to that inner voice to say, wait a minute, something's got to do different. So the fact that you're doing this, like, if you're just in your business doing what your business has always done, you're actually doing more poorly, for lack of better, my journalism degree is failing me right now, but like, for lack of a better phrase, because the world around you has changed.
Yeah.
The market has changed, the clients have changed, you have changed. And so if your business doesn't iterate with you, you're actually declining.
Yeah. Falling
And
behind.
so you've been doing that. You've been
That's a
doing,
really good point.
yeah.
And you're right. I mean, I guess I do need to take credit for the fact too.
Oh,
I mean,
you could have
of
stayed
that
stuck for a
swing.
lot longer. Oh, I've seen it. Done it myself sometimes too.
But yeah, part of that swing, right, was a new milestone in the business. And yeah, to stop and appreciate that was, you know, a new big client and part of that strategy working and everything and absorbing it and then figuring out, okay, now how do you deal with this and sustain it?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a really good point.
And one of the things that I tell people, if you're going to do this for yourself, is you got to fall in love with the work. You got to fall in love with the work.
You do.
You got to fall in love with the puzzle that is business, with the fact that this will never be fixed, because as soon as you figure it out, the algorithm of life will change on you. Right? Mercury retrograde, whatever you believe in will throw a wrench. That's just the ebb and flow of the world. Yeah. And it's recognizing the need to take a step back. What have I got here? What do I want to keep? What do I want to release? What does the next iteration look like? So I have to ask, I'm just going to flip topics on you a little bit. How did you pick, or how did you come upon presentation design as your niche? Because number one, I think it is so monumentally needed. We joked when we met that I was kind of a really good PowerPoint person back in the day, like before PowerPoint quickly outgrew my skill set.
Yeah.
And now it is so clear that I am not in any way, shape, or form a good designer. I could pull it off when, I could use fonts we were all impressed by fonts, right? But it really is such a niche and it's so important. Like, so many people are so scared to do that. And it's the secret sauce.
So yeah, the way I stumbled upon it, I would say, you know, my background, so very random. I majored in chemistry. We did all of our lab
That makes
reports.
completely sense.
Doesn't it?
Oh,
It
totally
actually does
understand.
when you stop and think about it. So when you put it all together, suddenly you're like, this does make sense once you get
There's
to
a
the end, but the
thread.
story starts out real crazy. So that's all Excel and PowerPoint was how we did our lab reports. Um,
Ah,
and so like have
you
been doing
ended
that
up
for 20
liking the
years.
reports better than the work.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I so cared about how pretty they were. It still took
That's
15 years to figure it out.
fantastic.
And then you get into corporate and you're using PowerPoint,
Yeah.
right? And so I was always doing that. And anytime I could use that over Photoshop or any of the design tools, I would use it because it was just easier to use, right?
It
It's
was
there.
for me as well. Yes.
And so that was really how I was familiar with those tools. And then when I left my job in corporate, I got on Upwork and I started doing graphic design work. I mean, I was doing everything under the sun. You quickly realize, right? Because I'm got a background in chemistry, you're like, this isn't efficient. This isn't going to scale.
Right.
I can't make a business figuring out how to do everything.
Yeah.
So I very quickly said, okay, what's working? And the thing that was really fascinating was there were all of these like projects out there for presentation design. There weren't a ton of people bidding on them, like other graphic designers, because other graphic designers are like, PowerPoint is not a real design tool. They're very anti PowerPoint. But clients love PowerPoint because I can go edit my own text, I can do my own thing. And there's this really
So
interesting
true.
element, like even you think about pitch decks, right? If someone's going to go start a new company, a startup, before they ever build a website, they need a pitch deck. So the first investment they make is in that presentation.
And I got it. So I want to stop you right there because that's brilliant. One of the things I tell people all the time, I watch business owners not move forward because of their website.
Yep.
Whether they're just starting out and they're working on their website, or they're ready to change something, like they're iterating, they're newer in their business and they finally found their world. And I tell people the best hack in the universe is to get your URL, put a very pretty sign that says under construction, find me on LinkedIn, and then just create a really good LinkedIn profile. You're adding a brilliant component, because if you can then have a really nice pitch deck that you screencast a recording to, you can put that on your LinkedIn profile as a piece of media, and you won't need your website until you can pay a brilliant person to make you a wonderful website.
Exactly. And by the way, I mean, and I'm all about PowerPoint and custom bespoke design, but you don't have to start that way. Go to Canva. They've got
No,
amazing.
you go to Canva. I can't even freaking fix something in Canva right now. I'm having yesterday was my Canva meltdown. I should have just called somebody. I'm like, why does this work for everybody else? I can't find any. My team laughs. Like my team, like, I don't know how to function in this world anymore.
We've all got our strengths. You don't need to function in Canva
Yeah,
anymore.
I don't do
And it's
things
probably
that
the
I suck
universe
at.
saying, Karen, you shouldn't be in Canva. Somebody else should be doing that for you.
Don't touch this. Nothing good can come of it.
Exactly.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, you don't have to, right? You don't have to make big investments, like just get started. And
Yeah.
to your point, right? I got started on Upwork. There was no website, there was no portfolio. You can't spin your wheels because you're building a website. What are you putting on it? Who are you serving? What are you doing?
You don't
Don't know if
know
that's gonna
enough
stick.
yet.
Yeah, you don't know anything.
Don't know enough yet.
I mean, I could have built a website and not had any information, made a whole graphic design, and I would have had to pivot it all to be presentation design. I mean, I just can't imagine having done that, right? Get out there, learn, figure out who your clients are, just get the data.
Just talk
And
to
then
other human beings.
you can hear the science in there though, can't you? Get the data. Make some informed, educated decisions.
It's sneaking through. It's sneaking through. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and the other thing that you've done that is, I tell people, it's like, where is the intersection between the thing that you are fantastic at doing and the need in the marketplace?
Yep.
And so many people create their business in a bubble. They go about creating the thing that they want to do. I'm not telling you to build a business on things you don't want to do, but you can't create all this stuff in a bubble and without vetting your offer before you put money behind it. And I mean, this is one of the reasons you were able to scale is because you went through the growth stage and through the leverage stage while you were appropriately there to get to a scaling stage.
Absolutely. And again, without the data, I wouldn't have known that the niche existed and the need existed, right? And that my skills happened to align with that. I just had to get in there and figure it out.
It comes down, unfortunately, to like, just do something.
Just do something. Action.
Action, action, action. Get the data, make a better decision.
Yep.
More and more.
I always like to think of it as, you know what, at least I'm taking a step in a direction. It may be the wrong direction, but I'm going to find that out pretty quickly.
It's great information.
And you can pivot, right? But you're moving. And I think a lot of people, to your point, they'll sit there in that same spot, working on the website, working with the dreams of what I could do. It's safe there.
Right.
It's so safe.
This is the analogy. I don't know how I came up with this last night. This is the analogy that I've come up with. You ever watch American Ninja Warrior?
Yes.
Right. Love that. Or like the videos from the Tough Mudder relays and stuff. Those, crazy obstacle courses. One, I'm massively, massively jealous about the fact that those didn't exist when I was in my prime physical, because I would have been all over that. I'm not very tall, so I don't know how good I'd be at it, but I would have been all over going over obstacles and flinging myself through the air. But if you notice, if you watch them get better at it year over year, they do the obstacle, they fall, they do it, they fall, they do it, they fall, they get a little bit further, they get a little bit further, they get a little bit further. And once they master an obstacle, unless something weird happens, they don't fall off that obstacle anymore. Things happen. But for the most part, once they figured out that, okay, I jump here, I hold this, I run here, they can do it instantaneously. Nobody gets better at the obstacle course by sitting at the front line. That's not how you get better at it, by just sitting there thinking about how could I run the perfect race. They do visualize, but then they go.
Yep.
And the faster they go, the faster they fail, the further they go, and the more quickly, the further they go.
Yep.
And it's the same thing.
Analogy.
I think I miss Ninja Warrior. I haven't seen it in a long time. I was thinking about it yesterday. Yeah. Yeah. So we can tell what you're proud of, and you absolutely should be. So let's lessen some people's learning curves. What have you tried that just did not work in this process?
Tried doing it all.
I love your face when you said that. Clearly.
That does not work.
So true.
I would say, one of the big things that and this is a kind of a personal struggle that I'm really working on. I'm a people pleaser. And so I
Mm.
had this really, I mean, bred into me since I was a small child need to say, yes, I will do that. And it does not end well. It does not end
No,
well for
it
me.
doesn't. It
It
doesn't.
doesn't end well for the client. And I'm starting to really try and own that up front when those little instincts kind of are just like, this isn't the right fit. It usually for me comes down to respect or just kind of a sense of someone isn't going to really appreciate me and the work that I do, calling it early, right? And I found I've gotten better at it over the years, but the problem I had last year was still referral clients who were referred to me from another client where I felt some sense of responsibility
Mm.
to the referrer,
Right.
even though that referrer was just making a connection, right? They're, I have no responsibility to them, but I was feeling that. And now I'm recognizing I don't need to do that. You don't take on
Right.
something that doesn't feel right to you to appease some other person who probably doesn't even care or
Well,
remember.
and the solution I find to a lot of those types of situation is to just be prepared for it
Yep.
because instinct is to want to help.
Yep.
So if my instinct is to really want to help somebody and I know I'm not the right person, then the real way to help them is to give them the right person.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like win-win-win. So you're you're making yourself feel better and not doing something you shouldn't do. You're referring that client to a better fit. So the person you gave the client to is happy. The client is happy. But
Yep.
yes, I think you have to be prepared for it ahead of time.
Right. And yeah, and I wasn't recognizing last year that that was
What
a
was
blind spot for me, right? That I was feeling that sense of obligation to those people. And when I looked at the list of like who were the troublemakers, the clients that didn't fit the mold last year, I was like, they all of them referrals. And you're
well,
like,
and so that's also interesting, like clarity in your messaging to your referral sources.
yeah, that's a
Absolutely.
very good point.
Who's my perfect fit? Who's my perfect fit? Nice.
Yeah.
It's very true. The saying yes to everybody because you want to say to be nice, to be helpful. It usually comes from a difficult place,
Yeah.
but being prepared to handle those situations ahead of time.
100%. And I totally agree with you. Like I have a whole network of other presentation designers that I refer business to.
Mhm.
Gosh, it makes it so much easier to say no because
Especially
you're
when
not
there's
ready to
one
say
you
no.
don't like.
What's that?
Especially when there's one you don't like, and you can say all the people that like. It's
But, I mean, the thing I love about this is, I mean, it's been really good for me on multifold. So first of all, every person has a different personality. So the things I'm
right,
sensitive about, other people are not necessarily.
100%.
But two, sometimes I've gotten like justification, like had a really big name client who I was putting up with a lot of stuff from. They were always late to pay their invoices. And I said to, they're one of those where, they wouldn't quite be specific about what they wanted. And then you get on a call and they would act like you had done something wrong. And you're just like, just own it. I
Right.
don't need to feel like I did something wrong here because I know I didn't. But I just didn't like that like stuff flows downhill stuff. So anyway, I referred them to someone else who in my network who's like, he's just, I mean, he's a guy and he is just more like
Not going to bother
thick
him.
skin.
Yeah.
He fired him in 6 weeks. He was like, Adrienne, I don't know how you tolerated these people for so long. They're jerks. I was like, flat
Yeah.
out. He was like,
I knew it wasn't me. I knew
I thought
it.
it was. And I was like, if anybody could like put up with them, right? It was him. And he was like, no, this is not tolerable. Like, this is not culture. So in some ways it's validating too, right? Because you're like, okay. So yeah, I think it feels good to be able to like solve a problem for somebody else, know that you're solving a problem for you, potentially give somebody else who needs it business.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's the thing I also love the most about the small business world. Like corporate is inherently competitive. And I had a great corporate career, but like there's 100 people on the team, 5 get promoted, 2 get promoted, 1 get promoted. There's just so much room, and that's just is what it is. And in the small business world, you don't have that.
right.
There's so many people that can help so many people, and there's so many people that need help. And it's just how when the waters rise, all boats go with it. And it's just so much more collaborative in nature.
I love that. And I think you're totally
Yeah.
right.
And it makes it more fun.
It does.
So if people want to learn how you can help them, what you do, how you can, go out of your way to do more for them than you're supposed to. No, we won't send you those people. We'll help you solve that problem. What is the best way for them to find you?
Yes, my website and all my links are at designingandthriving.com.
Oh, nice. Designingandthriving.com. We'll make sure to have that one click away from people in the show notes. But thank you for joining me, and also like your vulnerability and honesty and openness in these conversations. I think, there's gurus out there that we can follow, and they're highly, highly, highly motivating, and that's great. But the world they created their business in doesn't exist anymore. And I think there's an important place for down to earth, real talk about people who are succeeding and doing well, but what they're going through in the process, so that we can show people really step by step right now in this world today, how do we get through this and out the other side? So thank you for spending time with me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I truly enjoy bringing these stories of success and inspiration to you. Please join us in our mission to empower entrepreneurs to be in charge of their businesses and in charge of their lives by sharing this with anyone you know who would benefit from our tactical and motivating advice, leaving us a review, and letting us know if there are any particular topics you would really appreciate hearing about. See you next time.